Good morning to all and welcome to the session. The Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. As usual, you're going to improve your comprehension skill, your effective vocabulary. You will consolidate your grammar knowledge, effective English, a few idioms here and there. And 7:30, you're going to work on mini mocks. Let us start with the question, what is this about? Is everything on audio, video, streaming? Please respond. The editorial is about Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's handling of the conflict with Hamas. It is all about how he has been handling the Prime Minister of Israel. It's all about that. What is the tone of the editorial? The tone of the editorial is critical and urgent. Critical, criticizing, urgent because a lot of people have been dying and there's a possibility for them to suffer more. Please give me a second. Am I audible? Now you tell me, am I audible? Sorry about that. Huh. So let us go to editorial vocabulary. The very first word, jubilant, a positive word. Jubilant, part of speech adjective, meaning feeling or expressing great happiness or triumph. More than triumph, usually at the time of triumph, extremely happy, great happiness. What are the synonyms? Joyful, ecstatic, an important word. Elated, an important word. These two words you have to remember. Jubilant, ecstatic, elated. Antonyms quite opposite. Despondent, not exactly. Gloomy, yes, you have to remember. Melancholic, an important word you have to remember. Melancholy means a sadness, being depressed. Ecstatic, ecstasy, related words. Example, the fans were jubilant after their team won the championship. Were jubilant, past, after their team won the championship. Besiege, we have got a few times, but new format. Part of speech, it's a regular verb. Surrounded by armed forces, aiming to capture or force surrender. Usually it goes with surrounding a particular place, a fort. Synonyms, surrounded, blockaded, simple words, encircled, simple words. Antonyms, liberated, free, unencumbered. This is an important word you have to remember. Morose also you can say. Example, the fortress. As I said, it goes with a fortress. The fortress was besieged by enemy troops for weeks before finally surrendering. An important and relevant example. Avert we have got a few times, but not in the new format, meaning to prevent or ward off. Every time you come across new expressions, you have to make a note of that particular thing. Ward off, to prevent. And usually it goes with prevent what? Undesirable occurrence, something you don't want to happen. Synonyms, prevent, avoid, forestall, an important word. Antonyms, cause, provoke, incite. Cause, simple word, provoke, important, incite, very important. But here you have to recollect the other insight. What is the meaning of this insight? To provide deep understanding about something, insight into something, a positive word. This is a positive word, this is a negative word. Example, she managed to avert a crisis by negotiating a peaceful resolution. Crisis, again, you have to recollect the plural form crisis. They have given a few times. The next one, reprieve. This is also an important word, part of speech, noun. A cancellation or postponement of a punishment or sentence. Usually it goes with a punishment, either postponement or cancellation. Synonyms are respite, but respite, relief, simple words, they go with, imagine you're busy working, you got exhausted. You may say, I need a break. Everyday English, a respite, there's no respite. That is a different meaning altogether. Pardon goes with this one. Antonyms are punish, penalty, sentence. Here, sentence as a verb, important. Sentence can be a noun, we all know the meaning. He has been sentenced to something. It goes with judgment. He has been sentenced to 10 years rigorous imprisonment. An example. Example, the governor granted a last minute reprieve to the condemned prisoner. Condemned prisoner, important expression you have to remember. Last minute reprieve, either cancellation or postponement of the punishment. Sentenced to death, exactly. Understatement, easy but important because some synonyms, antonyms are important. Part of speech, noun. The presentation of something as being smaller, worse, or less important than it actually is. Something is important, but you try to project less important, then we use this word. Downplay, an important word. Minimization, not exactly. Euphemism, an important word, but not exactly. That is an important word, euphemism. What does it mean? To say something harsh in a nice way. To say something harsh in a nice way. Euphemism. He died, it sounds very harsh. He passed away, sounds better. Exaggeration, important word. Hyperbole, I suppose. Very important. Overstatement. Understatement, what is opposite? Overstatement. Example, to say that the situation is challenging would be an understatement. It is a complete disaster. Complete disaster, you try to project differently, challenging, but complete disaster. Famine, we have got many a time, part of speech, noun, but every time new words because new format. Extreme scarcity of food in a region, causing widespread hunger and death. No food for a long time, famine. Starvation, an important word. Dearth, shortage, important but not exactly relevant here. Scarcity of food, it goes with food, you have to remember. I'm starving. When you don't have food for 1 or 2 days, what do you say? I'm starving. Antonyms, abundance, plenty, surplus. So many words are there. These are simple words. The country was devastated by famine, leading to thousands of deaths, hundreds of deaths, thousands of deaths. Important phrases you have to remember. Gruesome usually takes the word murder. Gruesome murder. Gruesome, obviously part of speech adjective. Extremely unpleasant or shocking or scary, causing horror or repulsion. As I said, shocking, scary, disgusting, but more with horror or repulsion because it goes with a murder. Synonyms are horrific, grisly. All these words are very important. Macabre. Antonyms, pleasant, delightful, charming. Delightful also important. When you meet someone for the first time, you can usually we say nice to meet you, glad to meet you. You can also say delighted to meet you. Charming means attractive, always smiling, attractive. We say charming personality. Example, the crime scene was gruesome with bloodstains everywhere. You see bloodstains everywhere, then it is gruesome. Awkward has a different connotation altogether. Naidu. Abyss. Usually it goes with water, depth, meaning a deep or seemingly bottomless chasm. There's no bottom, you feel that way. Then abyss. Chasm, an important word. Gulf, not exactly. You can say void, that is also an important word. Antonyms we have peak, important, summit, important, zenith, important. All are important words. The explorer peered into the abyss. Peer means looked into, wondering what lay beyond, what was beyond that he wanted to know. A ruthless, a negative word obviously, goes with a part of speech adjective. Ruthless behavior, ruthless treatment, having or showing no pity or compassion for others. No mercy, no pity, no compassion. Yes. In a way related. Yes. Abyss, abysmal. But word form is different. Abyss is a noun, abysmal, adjective. Abyss, noun, abysmal, adjective. Synonyms, merciless, cruel, heartless. Simple words. Antonyms, compassionate, important word. Merciful, kind, simple words. Example, the ruthless dictator. It also goes with a dictator, uh, an autocrat, oppressed his people and showed no remorse for his actions, no feeling of guilt. This is also an important word. Balk, an important word I guess we have got for the first time, meaning to hesitate or be unwilling to accept an idea or undertaking. You are not willing to accept a particular idea, then we use the word balk. Synonyms are hesitate, resist, recoil. Antonyms accept, embrace. We have got a few times important word welcome. Example, he balked at the idea of skydiving, fearing it was too risky. That means he was hesitant to go for skydiving. These are the words from the editorial. Let us go to the stimulus, irrational Israel. Rational based on a reason. Opposite irrational, no reasoning, based on emotions or whims and fancies. Irrational Israel on the ceasefire proposal and Hamas. Hamas has come forward with a ceasefire proposal, but Israel has rejected. Based on that irrational Israel on the ceasefire proposal and Hamas, what is the main idea? Netanyahu is prioritizing his political future over his country's interests. For a political leader, stature of the prime minister of a country or the president of a country, there are two things he has to choose between. One, his political future. Second, the future of the country. Here it says Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, is prioritizing. He prefers his political future to his country's interest. That's what it means. Prioritize, thinking of what is important, what is not important, giving preference to a particular thing. When Hamas announced on Monday evening its acceptance of a ceasefire proposal, Hamas announced on Monday, past tense, because on Monday, time is there. Monday evening, its acceptance of a ceasefire proposal mediated by Qatar and Egypt. Jubilant crowds in Rafah, the besieged town in Gaza's south, where over 1.4 million people have taken refuge, took to the streets in the hope that a feared Israeli invasion would be averted. So look at the sentence from where to where, from here to here. You got to read twice, but in a nutshell, what it means when Hamas announced the ceasefire proposal, accepted the ceasefire proposal mediated by two countries, one Qatar and the other Egypt, jubilant crowds where those who have taken refuge in a particular place, 1.4 million people, they have taken refuge, a particular place, Rafah. all came to streets in the hope that they were very happy. They came to streets in the hope that a feared Israeli invasion would be averted. Everyone knows Israel wants to invade Rafah. And when the Hamas announced a ceasefire proposal accepted, obviously they all must have felt very happy. What are the words here? Jubilant, extremely happy. Besieged, surrounded town, which were Rafah, and have taken refuge, shelter. We have got many a time. Averted, prevented. But their reprieve, their happiness or respite was short lived, as Israel immediately said the proposal does not meet its core demands. We have got the word core many a time. I usually give one uh, combination: core competency. Core competency means what? Every company, every individual has a particular skill, very good at that particular skill. That is known as core competency. Its core demands. Israel had already announced the past perfect. The evacuation of over 1 lakh people from Rafah, already evacuated. A day after Hamas accepted the proposal, the Benjamin Netanyahu government sent tanks to Rafah and seized the Gaza side of the strip's border, crossing with Egypt. Israel had already announced the evacuation of over 1 lakh people from Rafah. That is one thing. Perhaps based on that, they refused the proposal, ceasefire proposal. A day after Hamas accepted the proposal, the Benjamin Netanyahu government sent tanks to Rafah and seized. Seize means to take hold of something using force, grab or capture something using force. The Gaza side of the strip's border crossing with Egypt. Now, Israel is practically controlling all entry points to Gaza. The entire region, in a way, in control of Israel. Now, Israel is practically controlling all entry points to Gaza, and most of them remain shut, closed. To call Gaza's existing situation a disaster would be an understatement. More than a disaster. It is more than a disaster. The Israeli Defense Forces IDF have killed over 34,000 Palestinians since October 7. Over 77,000 Palestinians have been wounded, and nearly the entire Gaza has been displaced. Means people lost their homes, habitats. Its northern and central parts are already uninhabitable. Inhabitable, an important word we have got many a time. To be able to live, a particular place people can live, we say it is inhabitable. A place people cannot live there because of the resources, whatever, uninhabitable. Its northern and central parts are already uninhabitable, full of rubble. The UN says there is a full blown famine in northern Gaza. Full blown famine means what? No food at all. They are starving in northern Gaza, while a hunger crisis has spread across the enclave. One is starvation, the what is it, famine. The other one, hunger crisis, has spread across the enclave. Hundreds of thousands of people, an important phrase. Hundreds of people, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. Nothing wrong with that. Forced out of their homes in the north and center, where IDF soldiers have been deployed. Deployed, we have got many a time, means what? Place in position, and are now living in temporary shelters in Rafah. And the Israelis are again asking them to evacuate. They have moved to Rafah, and now Israel is asking them to evacuate, move away, move out from there. When Israel came under a gruesome attack on October 7, the world expressed its solidarity with the Jewish nation. The same sentence we have already got many a time. When Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, gruesome attack, horror filled, the entire world expressed its solidarity, support with the Jewish nation. But the way Israel has conducted, present perfect tense. Its war in Gaza ever since is not different from what Hamas did to the Israelis. Hamas made a mistake, killing innocent Israelis. But now what Israel is doing is no different from what Hamas did on October 7th. That's what the sentence means. Mr. Netanyahu's government unleashed, already we have got, release, unleash your potential. A collective punishment on the entire population of Gaza. They should punish those who belong to Hamas, but they have punished the entire population of Gaza with support from powerful allies in the West, friends in the West, especially the US. We all know that. But despite the disproportionate use of force against the Palestinians, Israel's military performance is a far cry from what it was known for decades ago. This youngsters may not know, but when I was young, and till recent times, whenever people would talk about Israelis' military ability or capability, they would keep it in high esteem. Israel is a small country, but it can attack any country within no time. This was the public opinion. But compared to this public opinion, the reality is a far cry from, means it is away from reality, a far cry from what it was known for decades ago. Because it has taken so much time, 8 months, it hasn't controlled, it could not overtake or overpower Hamas. 8 months' time, too long. Israel has neither managed to defeat Hamas nor get the hostages released. How many months are over? 8 months. If Mr. Netanyahu goes ahead with the plan to invade Rafah, he would be making a terrible mistake, an important expression. He would be making a terrible mistake if he goes ahead with to invade Rafah, the plan of invading Rafah. If the war comes to an end, he might face challenges to his political career. Imagine the war comes to an end, the war with Hamas comes to an end. He might talk about chances, less possibility, challenges to his political career. But if the war goes on forever with more killings of Palestinians, the state of Israel, already isolated and facing a genocide case at the UN's top court, would be weakened further internationally. Imagine the war comes to an end, he might face political challenges back home. His political career may face some challenges. On the other hand, if the war goes on forever with more killings of Palestinians, the state of Israel, Israel as a nation state, already isolated, the world has isolated Israel, and it is facing a genocide case. He is facing present continuous genocide, killing people of a particular group or race or community. At the UN's top court, the International Court of Justice, Hague, would be weakened further internationally. People won't respect Israel. The only practical way out of this humanitarian and political calamity, what is the way out? What is the solution? The only way out of this humanitarian and political calamity we have got many a time, disaster, catastrophe, mishap, calamity, all synonyms, and moral abyss, going down morally to the lowest point, and moral abyss is a quick negotiated ceasefire. What is a way out? What is a solution? Quick negotiated ceasefire that would see the release of all hostages and an idea of withdrawal. If at all they go in for negotiations and accept ceasefire, what is the positive impact? All the hostages will be released on the one hand. On the other hand, idea of withdrawal will be there. Even Hamas, undoubtedly a ruthless terrorist organization. What is this Hamas basically? A ruthless, no mercy, no kindness, no compassion terrorist organization that would not balk, hesitate at inflicting suffering on the very people it claims to represent. It is so ruthless, it does not hesitate to cause suffering on the very people it claims to represent, the Palestinians, has shown a willingness to sign a deal. Though it is a ruthless terrorist organization, it may go to the extent of inflicting pains on its own people. It has shown a willingness to sign a deal. That's a positive development. The question is whether Mr. Netanyahu is ready or not, whether he is going to accept or not. That is a $1 million question. That's all about this editorial. After at about 7:30, join. You can work on mini mocks. Thank you very much.